Yeah, what I'm recording here are a few principles about the binary code, especially with texture. Now I have the binary codes, I have a power of width and length, and I have the power of depth with the foundation of the canvas of the picture. My perspective, you could say, and then I also have texture, which is a third dimension. So I have depth with my painting and drawing technique, but I also have depth with the impasto. And then when it dries, you have ridges and valleys. So that's another binary, it's another depth. You have bumps, you have ridges and valleys. Then you have a few more. And this is why oil painting is so cool. Now, when it's dried and it has texture, I take a grease pencil and I can use it and skim over those tops of those mountains. It's called relief. And so you see what shows up in the unpredictability principle. You know, it's kind of like what happens in abstracts. Only with dried textured paintings, you can do this when it's dried. These are grease pencils for kids. That's me. So I have a whole bunch of these, and they show up on glass and plastic, metal, and old oil paintings. I pulled this old painting out of just some purging I was doing up in the closet, and I have a whole bunch of these old paintings. This was one of the first ones that I experimented with sticks, and it's an okay painting, but what I'm doing is I'm using my complements and I'm glazing over the tops of some of this relief, and the texture shows up. And what I can do is I can do dark areas. I can darken and have the light coming through, or I can take a lighter color and go over darker areas and have a reverse effect. So there's many, many powerful avenues with just working your depth, especially with glazing. I have other techniques about glazing with brushes and with knives, and certain viscosities is very important. That's what glazing is all about, is getting how thick the paint is. What's interesting about these grease pencils, they show up, and they'll show up even on varnished paintings. They're a little more difficult, but they still show up because, well, they're greasy. Now, I was teaching some of these principles about the complementarity to straighten out crooked edges and crooked out straight edges and fuzzy up hard places and hard up fuzzy places. And talking about all of these opposites, I read about a lot of that in Tao. In Taoism, they talk about finding these complements in everything, and so when you incorporate that, and that's part of quantum physics also, that's what they discovered. My left hand and right hand are equals and opposites, but I can get along without my one hand, but I can't get along without a complementarity, meaning the North Pole cannot exist without the South Pole. And when you get into these complementarities, it's really, really powerful. And the more complementarities you can derive out of your processes, the more powerful your paintings are going to be, the more fun you're going to have. So I was talking to this guy about these basics. He says, you know, I've been taking drawing lessons all my life, and no one has ever told me this stuff. Stay tuned. Particle wave. That's another thing I'm going to get into, all the analogies about particle wave. They're endless. You can get them also. Particle wave, like